Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee to order. And the first item on our agenda is to approve minutes of our November the 7th meeting.
Motion approved.
Commissioner Schaefer, thank you, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Are there any additions or corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're ready for our investment report, and Mr. Beatty, our county trustee, will join us. Good evening, Mr. Beatty.
Good evening. We had one bid this past month, and we kind of went shorter term on that with 16 basis points, and the LGIP rate stayed at 9.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, that was exactly my reaction when the chairman came in.
.09.
That is .09.
Yeah,
Yes,
for the
it
listening
is.
audience, yeah.
Yes.
We hadn't started paying them yet.
We're getting close.
We're getting
That is
close.
less than 1/10 of a percentage point.
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Next month, we want better news.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, if you will locate your fund condition report, our finance director, Mrs. Nolan, will begin with the development tax.
In November, we received $596,250. That brings our year-to-date total up to $1,986,750. In that month of November was 312 apartment complex in Murfreesboro.
And that was in addition to 204 or something in October. That's 500.
All the apartments going
Yeah,
up.
pretty close to a school then.
I'll have to think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Gentlemen, let's move please to cash balances.
Our cash balance at the end of November was $135,802,000, with $124,268,000 being operating funds, $11,534,000 being borrowed funds. I think later in tonight's meeting, Mr. Sandberg will be bringing forth some amendments to help take care of the negative in the Smyrna primary project.
Any discussion on the cash balances? Okay, let's move to revenue.
Revenue, in the first section, we have increases from the prior year in our local taxes. In the general fund, our hotel motel tax is up 29.5%, wheel tax is up 3.7%. Our development tax, which is a big driver in our number being more than what it is last year at 27.5%, completed on our budget. It's up 163,000%, as you saw earlier. Our revenue in the ambulance is down slightly. And the second part with the Fund 116, 131, 141, we have 3 months reported in the sales tax in our rural area, which is affecting these local tax numbers. It was up 23%. The number I say in here, general fund, is really solid waste fund. The number 2 item, where they are at 61.8% total other local revenue. The driver there is a sale of property, that they did sell some property on Gov Deals. It's about 60,000 more than what we had last year at this time, which is showing that difference in that number of 197,753 compared to 114,557.
What was that?
Last
Say
year.
so.
A lot of big stuff.
Miscellaneous junk.
Okay.
But it turned
Yeah.
out
You say property, but I'm saying it's like equipment.
Equipment.
You know,
Yeah.
Surplus equipment.
Surplus.
Not
equipment's been
land.
sitting there for years, much of
Property
it has.
equipment.
Some of that surplus equipment we bought years ago, imagine.
Yeah, most of the Army stuff, I think, is gone by now, from the
Yeah.
80s, I guess.
In the general fund, the general debt service fund, there are increases there in local taxes, and the driver there is the development tax, the other half of the development tax that goes in there, compared to what it was last year.
Any questions or discussion for Mrs. Nolan?
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Jordan, seconded by Commissioner Fee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, then, the next part of our agenda is the risk management report, and Mrs. Nolan will begin with the financials.
Start with the health insurance fund. I'm going to start with the second page. The per employee per month cost for just the medical claims for the month was $763.37 compared to November of last year, which was $811.15. The average for the year was $824.15 compared to the prior year was $868.83, which is a reduction of 5%. When you add in the on-site medical costs, rolling those numbers in, our average for the year is $863.33 compared to last year's average for the first 5 months at $901.44. So an overall reduction per employee per member of 4.2%.
Okay, that was Fund 264. Now let's go to 266.
Which is our workers' comp and OJI. Our claims to date total $218,918 compared to the same period last year at $376,882. The item I do want to bring to date is that we are expecting a fairly large medical claim that will be coming in within the next couple months that affects the general fund. They're part of a workers' comp claim of an individual who's got lifetime medical. So we're expecting that in the next 2 months. So when that comes in, I'm gonna say, remember in December when we talked about that this was coming?
Motion to approve the report, Ms. Chairman.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin, seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. We do have a recommendation from the Insurance Committee, and it did pass unanimously on the flexible spending account. Mrs. Nolan?
The flexible spending are those dollars that the employee sets aside from their paycheck to pay for unreimbursed medical claims or dependent care charges. The IRS regulations have changed in the past to allow, if the employee had unspent, they had 2.5 months into the next year to take care of those claims. IRS changed the rules again that allowed a different kind of change, that up to $500, the IRS would allow that employee to carry that over into the next calendar year and have the whole calendar year to be able to spend that. So it was the recommendation of the Insurance Committee that we modify our current flexible spending account to allow the 500 carry over, effective with the 2013 calendar year. So this hopes will reduce the amount of monies that employees will forfeit.
Their money anyway comes out of their pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Is
It
that,
gives them a little more time to spend it.
has that amount, excuse me, also changed the max that they can withhold from their paycheck?
Yes, it
What
did.
What is it now? I'm just out of.
It was 5,000 and it dropped to 2,500.
I was thinking there was a change there too, so.
Hmm. So now if somebody gets 1,200 taken
Never
out
had
during the year,
Yes.
and he only spends 700, then they can carry 500 over up,
Into the next year.
all the way up till December.
Yes.
For what it's worth, I've heard from several employees who are very much in favor of this change.
Gives them flexibility with the
Commissioner
spending.
Jordan, thank you,
Second motion.
seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. Any further discussion relative to the motion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ely.
Yes. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is to discuss change in our 2015 premiums for the pre-65 retirees, and Mr. Jay Brown will join us. And gentlemen, we do have this information on our iPads, but we've also given you a paper copy because it's just a lot of information, a lot of numbers to see. So you have that at your place, if that will make it a little easier for you. Good evening, Mr. Brown. Welcome.
I'll give a synopsis of kind of the end of the story, and Mr. Brown can get us from point A to point B. But the end of the story is that the recommendation from the insurance committee to blend the pre-65 insurance rate with the actives instead of having their own rate specific to them. I had requested too, along with all this, is that we still get those numbers on what the rate would have been. The county's still gonna be picking up the cost. But it is most common in the other governments that they blend the rate instead of having a standalone rate for the pre-65.
This is what school board was asking for last year, correct? There's a very limited number.
There's
165.
165.
Right, and they needed a 166% rate increase, but if you look back 3 years ago, the number was dramatically lower, so it just on that size group, it fluctuates. And so the decision from the insurance committee was to try to meld the rates together so that it's one rate, and so that 165 doesn't fluctuate as much year over year. And we looked at this, as we said, during the renewal process, but I think the concern at the time is it was such a large increase. By blending the rates, it does cause the active rates to go up a little bit more, and due to their pretty substantial increase at the time, we didn't feel it was just really viable to put more on them to subsidize the retirees. But as we're looking towards already 2015, the rate increase doesn't look nearly as large as it was then. And so really when we looked at it this time, by going back to the 50% rate, the county's picking up most of the increase, which is what happened this year as well. We subsidized the percentage that the retirees paid of the total, and then if that happens, the county ended up paying the majority of the cost. And so really by blending the rates, the county picks up the majority of the actives rate as it is today anyway. So really that number, as far as where the dollars flow, it pretty much stays in the county bucket, but it at least makes the retiree rates stable year over year. And I think that was a big concern last year, is when we were looking at 100% rate increase to the retirees. That got a lot of, discussion. So this would at least even out that retiree rate year over year. And that's really what we're showing here. If you look, I don't know if you want to get real deep into the numbers, but we have one that has a final proposal. This was what actually sold last for 1/1. Actually coming up, seems like last year, but it's actually hasn't happened
Is
yet.
this the one that stated
And it says-
425.13?
Yeah, I think, yes, 425.13, it says plan changes, employee contributions approved by the Budget and Finance Committee at the top.
That's the final.
That was the final, what I call the final. And then the second one is, says blend active and retiree rates at the top. It was a 4/15/13 date. And really, on this particular one, on my sheet, I have a yellow column highlighted. Those are the gross rates or the insurance rates. As you can see, for the new one, those rates are the same for the actives at the top as it is at the retirees at the bottom. And so what we did is just blended the rates where it's the same actives in the yellow. So the copay plan, the single total rate's 5/12/03. If you look down the copay plan for the retirees, it's 5/12/03.
Those are only pre-65.
The pre-65s.
Right.
The post or no changes to the employee structure.
Okay, how many in the system right now, because this is gonna change, how many are being grandfathered in if they retire pre-65, that they would fit into this category in the future? Do we have a rough idea?
How many, you're asking how many people who are pre-65 are gonna be retiring soon? That's what you're asking?
Well, to fit into this category.
It would be anybody who retires
Uh,
prior to 65.
But but it's
who
coming
are
up in
that-
years, isn't it gonna wind up being 30 years and 60 eventually?
You're asking for that, what is that?
Yeah,
What's in the
but we
golden
got some
group?
scattered back into our 50s now, right?
So you're asking this, how many are in the golden group that's
Yeah,
coming?
okay, if you wanna call it a golden group, okay.
Well, I mean, that get
I-
the benefit of
okay,
the
yeah.
50/50.
Mhm.
And, I don't know,
Oh.
we'll have to get that, I mean,
Yeah, well, I'm
kind
just
of
kidding,
figure out
'cause,
how many.
you know, it may
in
be
that.
something if there's,
Well, I mean, we
Well-
know about how many of people were in that,
Oh, you know how many's in that group?
Yeah, that was in
and
the
see, in the
initial
future,
group.
it's gonna be lessened because you're not gonna be able to retire as early, correct?
right.
Okay,
You don't know if they're
age-wise.
gonna work to
benefit.
57 or 64, it's,
Yeah.
it all depends on circumstances or
Right.
their own personal choice.
But we could kind of go back and know how many are still active that as of that December 2010 time period would have fallen in the bucket, that would have gotten, that would have received a, that 50/50 payment.
I remember last year when we talked about this, as you alluded to, the active employees were getting like kicked in the teeth, I say, a huge increase. And if we'd blended, this group would have got a reduction.
Reduction, and
Right.
our
we
group
just
would gotten
couldn't hardly
another.
live with that by
Right.
clobbering this bunch and giving this bunch a
And I think
That's
that's,
right.
plus. So we're kind of past that and we've leveled that out. So
Mhm.
it appears to me, as being on the insurance committee, this was more or less the
Right.
time to do this.
And the way we're looking at this is really just kind of going back, looking at 2014. We don't know what the 15 rates will be. We're just trying to establish what the structure's going to look like as far as the contribution percentages and the blending of the rates.
So the blending would go into effect for the calendar year 2015.
Right.
So why would we want to pass this right now instead of in May or April when you're looking at
Mhm.
all the other insurance rates? Because it seems like if
Right.
you discussed it at that time in April or May, you'd still have plenty of time to get the blending changed for 2015.
Right. I mean, I think the main purpose of the risk management department was to bring this in front of you sooner, because I think some of the complaints last time, not necessarily in this group, was that too much was coming at us and decisions had to be made this month or the next month. And so we're trying to get an earlier start on this, as well as some of the wellness components now, so that in March, April, when we're really looking at the renewal increase and budgets, that we're not doing it all at one time. So we're trying to spread it out to get a
It's
little more
easy to
time.
get overwhelmed with too much
Right.
at one time.
Okay.
Even though this doesn't go into effect until 2015, so the numbers we're looking at in these charts are really just hypothetical. It's
Right.
what would have happened
Right,
if we
would
had
have
done it
happened.
for 2014.
Right.
We can still look at this and get a sense of what the cost of the county would be,
Right, right.
and the cost is $600,000 or $700,000.
Yeah, it's $750,000 is what it was. $1 million last year. What we decided on for 2014 really cost about $1 million more to the county budget largely. And so really, that's what I was saying. For 2015, if we go to the same structure, it's going to be an additional $775,000 that's shifted. But it was going to be hit, if we don't make any changes, it's going to go to the county budget one way or the other. So really, all we're doing is trying to level out the retiree rates. Because if we leave it the way it is and we kept the same percentages, the county would have picked up a large chunk of that. By putting it up here and the county paying 90% in most instances of the total cost, they're paying for it up there too. So it's not necessarily that we're moving it away from the county to the employees or the retirees. It's just really that we're stabilizing the retiree rate. If that makes sense.
Well, I hear what you're saying. It's just hard for that to make sense because the numbers in these charts make it look like there is cost shifting.
Well, if you
I
kind of.
know this is for hypothetical
Yeah,
for 2014,
right,
but still,
right.
I mean, if this is what we're using to evaluate this on, then it looks like there is cost shifting.
Well, if you compare the final rate, and it may be easier, you're kind of looking at there, but the total, what actually was final for 2014, and you look at the orange or the green copies, so the retiree portion, there's down here in this column, there's the retiree portion and the county portion, and then there's a total at the bottom, total annualized. So if you look at 2013, the retirees in 2013 paid about $1.5 million. For 14, we're expecting them to pay about 1.671.
You didn't talk about the 1 year stopgap measure we did this year. How did we do?
We
We adjusted
increased,
that rate for 1 year,
we increased the
did.
which
county.
cost the county
Right, that's what cost the
basically the
county.
same amount of money.
Right, and that was
you
for
know.
just 1 year.
Yeah, because we couldn't stomach doing that
Right.
to the
Ongoing.
retiree.
And you see it over here, Commissioner.
So it's the
It's right here,
65.
65%
In the
and
green.
63.5, and then that's the employer share. Instead of it being 50% of the premium, the county is picking up 65%.
But this is more of a permanent fix, and it's coming in with stopgap measures. This isn't the first time we had to do that, just to
Right.
get through this year.
Right.
And we haven't talked about the stopgap measure here tonight,
Right.
but that could cost us pretty much the same money we're talking about costing
Mhm,
right here.
mhm. And two things we're trying to accomplish, we can get back to that too, but one is to agree upon the blended rate. And then the second scenario is we want to essentially make an offering where we offer employees a $500 per month stipend. And then if they choose, they can take that $500 now in 2015 and go out to the individual market and look for insurance, go out to the marketplace in an effort to give them more options available to them. And so we're looking at that as another kind of, we're promoting option 2 and 3. One, doing the blended rate, and then 2015 also allowing them $500 a month to go off onto their own plan if they'd like, if they would want a different deductible plan or a lower cost option. And that will help us with our long-term liability as well if they come off the retiree plan. So it's kind of a twofold for a stopgap and a long-term projection, because today we're spending about $500. If we look at it, we're spending as a county for a single $550. So if we could give them $500, we did some scenarios with the marketplace exchange where they would be able to use that $500 and essentially go out and almost get a plan that would cost them anything out of their pocket. That's not much further off than what's offered to them here. And so,
Well, that was my question coming up. You've looked at the different plans,
Yeah.
so that's a similar to what they've got.
yeah, I don't think you guys have this one, but essentially what we did look at through, our exchange rates is a 55-year-old male, I believe it was a single male, non-tobacco user, and the single rate for the plan most comparable to what we offer today under the copay plan costs about $639. And so if the county gave them a $500 stipend per month, their cost would be about $138. And today they're having to pay for single coverage more like $282.
Now, well, that'll help bring us into where we want to be, which is an 80-20. I mean, we've stated that's been our goal.
Yeah, we've been dropping
that-
1% a year.
Right,
Mhm.
which we plan to continue doing that. So have you taken that into account, or?
That's more that active rate.
Right, that was more like, I don't know, that was, the
Yeah,
retirees
it
is
is.
kind of locked in about 50%, I believe was more than actives. So, and it does, I mean.
That was a set group, though, that's not
Mhm.
continuing.
And the reason why we didn't want to do this back in April and May, was because we didn't want the rates to go up even more for the active employees. Is an example of how it would have gone up even more when you compare the employee individual co-pay plan, it would have gone up from $506 to $512.
That group
No, that's
that-
what's happening now.
No, what he's doing here is like, under the final plan
Yeah.
for the entire rate is 506.02. Had we blended into the actual active, that rate would go to 512. That's where you're seeing that shift.
We didn't do it last year because we
They were
didn't
already
want
going
those
up.
additional increases,
Right.
even though
To
they
the
kind
employee.
of, they
Mainly
don't,
to, yeah.
they don't look real big, but.
It was just kind of like salt in the wound kind of thing. Why should, and then if you look, if we did that, as you had said, the retiree rates get a decrease.
Right.
And so we gave, even employee, it was only like a $2 single increase, but it also made the retiree rate go down by $26. So, I mean, I think the comment in the insurance committee partially is, well, if we didn't do it before, why would we do it now? But and the question was, it just didn't seem like the right timing. But what we know so far is how the claims, you heard how the claims are looking right now. We kind of got the budget back in line this last year. We aren't expecting a large increase at all. So it will be a little more sustainable, I think, this year to make that change.
So gentlemen, if you will check your iPad, you notice that there are 3 options. The recommendation of the insurance committee is to adopt option 2 and 3 that Mr. Brown just alluded to. The blending of the pre-65 retirees with the active, and also the county subsidy of $500 per month,
Whichever is less.
or the adequate rate, whichever is less, yes.
I do think that we just kind of need to talk about this paragraph afterwards, is that, you know, if you offer that subsidy to the employee, that pre-65 retiree, and you're giving them that option to go somewhere else, that once the pre-65 makes the election, they cannot return to the county insurance plan until they become Medicare eligible. It's an opportunity to come back. And once they become Medicare eligible, they must return to the county plan within 30 days of turning Medicare age to receive the support from the county.
That's not completely our rule, that's a Medicare rule, is it not? I mean, or
Where-
an industry rule.
This will be
I mean.
supplemental.
Well, it'd be supplemental, but today, if an employee chooses to leave our health insurance, they don't get to come back.
So this
Even
is-
at
When they're
65.
gone, even at 65. So this gives them an opportunity to say,
Come back.
you know, to explore if going to another, to getting their own health insurance with a stipend is financially better for them. But it also gives them an option. You know, some people might say, well, I don't want to do that because I really need this after I'm 65. Well, it still gives them a 30-day window to come back when they hit Medicare eligibility.
We think option 3 will save the county some money.
Mhm.
Do we have any idea how much?
Well, it's hard to say, but when we looked at it, I mean, we actually have retirees on the plan that may have other coverage available to them through their spouse or another employer today, but because of the way the rule is, if they come off, they can't come back. And so by allowing this and giving them the money, they may be on another plan that's cheaper or, you know, more affordable for them to give them the money to apply to that. And then by letting them come back, they may elect to do that. And I don't think we have a good idea, especially with the marketplace exchange the way it is right now, maybe more 6-8 months from now, next year, 2015, if they would go that route to the exchanges. But we know several of them have spouses that have other jobs, or they work another job, that some of those would probably benefit from doing this.
On the option 3, we would allow them to immediately do that, and we wouldn't make them wait till the end of the year to re-up normally.
Well, I think, the initial goal, this would roll out January 1st of 15.
But
I
I'm
guess
saying
that-
if somebody
yeah.
6 months later, like you
Yeah,
just mentioned,
retired.
decided, hey, I want to do this, are you going to allow them to do it in the middle of the year?
No, I mean, this would, because I
They're an
think
open
that
enrollment.
it would be a status change. If
But-
they were a new hire or a new retiree, they could elect, but if they just decided halfway through that they wanted to switch, they
Even
would
if
have
it's
to
in
wait
our
to the next
benefit?
open enrollment.
If they have a life event.
Unless there was a status change.
Right,
If
which
they-
we
if
allow
they-
that already.
Right. But
But I'm
just-
saying even if it's in our benefit to do that, we wouldn't do it?
You can't, I mean, it would make sense financially to do it, but from an IRS perspective, you couldn't
Oh,
do it.
okay,
Yeah.
I didn't understand the
Yeah,
federal law.
unless they, but if they elected, if they were hired at another employer that offered benefits, that would be a status change. So
Right.
that would be a reason. Or if it was their spouse's open enrollment and they decided, hey, we're gonna hop on it at this time, that would be a reason. But just 6 months in for no real reason, wanting to make a change, we can't do that. But there'd be 10 or 15 other options if something came up that would allow for it.
Okay.
So if this committee approves this, it goes to the commission next week. And then the commission can hear, all 21 of us can hear this. And then, after discussion and all, we can vote to defer it if we want to till February or something for a final vote. And everybody's got the paperwork to look at it. And if they look at it, then they ought to be more completely informed by February than they would be, well, because I doubt seriously if anybody's gonna want to do it next Thursday, when they hear it the first time. It's the same situation as last year. But we can defer it, at least we got it out on the table now. That's okay.
Well, we're gonna be ultimately talking about this during budget anyway. I
Too,
mean,
and I think that's one of the other reasons why they were wanting to bring it to
Getting ahead of the
them.
ballgame here about
Well,
that, too.
because when they start building the rates, it's good to kind of know where, how we're gonna do it.
Right.
You know, what is the.
The insurance
it?
committee said the same thing. I mean, it's kind of hard to make this decision right now, but you have a month between the insurance committee and the commissioners committee, for people to kind of look at it. But even if it gets postponed another month or two, at least it gives people more of a chance to review the numbers. Because we do know, because we still have to layer in wellness. There's other things that are coming down the pike, so we want to try to, by March, April timeframe, not throw it all out there one time.
Well, I think this also gives us the opportunity to say that we conceptually like the idea of these blended rates.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know for sure whether this is gonna cost the county more or less money because we haven't set the rates yet. You can have blended rates and it can cost the county more because the rates are relatively low, or save the county money by setting the rates higher, but they're still blended. We're just saying we like the concept, the blended concept.
Right.
Well, I don't think we're gonna lose on the third option, though.
No.
That's just an option people can take or not take, and it saves us money, so I don't see a problem with putting that out there. I mean, I'm ready to vote on that one now.
Well, I mean, you say save us money,
Well-
we're still paid it, we would still paid it.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. I'm saying the difference, though, between, the rate he gave as an example versus us paying, say, $500 or
$550, yeah.
$550 per month.
Well,
Looks
that-
like would be a savings.
If that number doesn't have an inflationary clause in it, then as years go by, 500 isn't a whole lot.
Well,
You know, if
that's
an
the
insurance
other
is
thing.
going up
And if they have
10% a
family
year on
coverage, you're
average or
paying
something.
almost $1,000. So
Right.
if the husband spouse decide to go on another plan because now you're giving them $500, you just went from paying almost $1,000 to $500.
Mhm.
So you can see some significant savings then.
Exactly.
It definitely gives our 365 retirees options, more options than they would have.
And it saves our future liability too.
Repeat that. You
Our
said
future liability.
It saves.
It saves
future
on that
liability.
because we won't
Yeah.
have to hold as much in
I
reserves.
thought I misunderstood you.
Right.
That's why.
The
I said
reserve,
repeat. That's the
right.
same thing. Okay.
I make a motion to approve option 2 and 3 as recommended by the insurance committee.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Jordan. We need a second.
second it.
A second from Commissioner Baum.
Can I just make a clarification? You correct me if I'm wrong. Doing the $500 helps on the unfunded liability. Blending the rate hurts us on the unfunded liability.
Right, right. Option 3 though would,
Helps
option
offset.
2 hurts, option 3
Three
helps.
helps.
Right.
And this motion will get it to the commission. If somebody feels strongly about postponing it, we can always do that at that point in time.
Well, even if we don't if we don't postpone it, still won't take effect till after the next
15.
rate change. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
talking about January 15th.
Effective January 15, but, you generally it's May,
Mhm.
June, not May,
Like
that
for
y'all are
schools out,
setting the
right.
rates
Yeah.
that we build our budgets
Right.
on.
I guess I need to make a statement. My wife is still an active employee of the Rutherford County Board of Education. But if she's still working, when 2015 rolls around, I'm gonna be dead, so it doesn't matter to me. And she'll be 65 past then. I didn't want to make that statement.
And I'm gonna make a statement also, because my wife is an employee of Rutherford County School Board, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument, my vote, answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents.
We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Make the same motion, statement, Mr. P. D. is dumb employee of Rutherford County Highway Department.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Brown, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chairman, just, since we've been talking about risk management here, I'd like to just make a statement that our thoughts and prayers are with the Stinson family.
We're ready for the general fund budget amendments. Sheriff Arnold, Mr. Russell, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Good evening.
Oh, it's a tough one. He's got his jogging pants on today.
Jogging pants? That's all right.
Your running pants,
No.
No, they make your running pants, right?
No, they're 5'11" pants.
Okay.
Tactical
Well, you can
pants.
move quicker than those.
Yeah, they're
prepared.
He's prepared. Yeah, they're tactical pants.
That's
Chase the
okay.
bad guy pants.
Yeah.
Chase the-
All right, chase the bad guy pants.
Okay, now that we have
It's okay,
established
it's all
that.
right.
I don't want people to think that I'm running around in sweatpants. 'Cause, I'm not running around in sweatpants.
Tactical pants.
Yeah, tactical pants.
I wished I had some.
Well, we might find a pair for you. Who knows?
There you go.
Mr. Russell.
Yes, ma'am. So our first page is basically a lot of cleanups of all the donations we got to different charities and stuff we've got over there at the sheriff's office. So we had donations to the K-9 program, $670. We'd like to put that into our animal supplies line item on the sheriff's office side. We had donations for the scan department and the memorial garden that totaled $1,004. And I'd like to put that $954 and $50 respectively. We had $1,300 in sale of materials for the Explorers program, the vegetable garden, and the memorial garden. And so we'd like to break those down into where those two budgets originate in the office of $89 in the $399 account, and then total of $11 in the $499 account on the jail side budget. We sold a bunch of material, recycled material, and we're going to put that in our vegetable garden line item on the jail side, the $499 line item there. Number 5 is we held a class, and so all the registration fees for the class totaled $20,058. We'd like to put $16,950 into the in-service line item, and then $3,108 in the repair and maintenance of building line item on the jail side. Let's see, the next one is a request from data processing to move $15,000 from data processing equipment into repair and maintenance of equipment. And then the last item is to recognize revenue from SCAP grant. We're going to use that to translate and print our inmate manuals into Spanish. And then we had one more that we added. That's okay.
This has not gone through committee, correct? But
Well, I did get approval from
Okay.
Public Safety.
Thank you.
Commissioner Farley. And that was our Shop with the Sheriff. We had 2 events, one in November, one in December. The citizens of this county donated $9,516 for children to have a good Christmas. And so what we wanted to do was go ahead and recognize that revenue and get it into the line item so we can go ahead and use it for this Christmas. And those are all the general budget amendments I've got for you tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner P, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jordan.
We're putting $4,767 into the vegetable garden line item.
Yes, sir.
Why Why do we spend $4,700 on?
That's our recycled materials. That's the money that we've been using, pulling stuff out of the trash.
Yeah, I know, but that's, you know, in the past, sometimes that's gone repair and maintenance of the building and stuff, but
No.
I just wonder what we need $5,000 for the garden for. I mean, do we spend that much money on
Well, we put
fertilizer and
in,
seed?
we use all that money to buy all the different things. We bought a building to keep our supplies in. We bought a little tractor. So we have found different ways to fund our garden without asking you to fund our garden. And so if we're gonna continue doing that, we would like for the inmate labor to continue to fund our garden. Because all the vegetables, and off the top of my head, we did a story on it. I think it was something like 3,500 pounds roughly of food we put back into the jail.
I was just wondering what that much money was going for, because I didn't realize we had to have a tractor and things like that. I thought
Well,
they were out there
It's a
doing it
big
with
garden.
Well, we've done,
you know?
well, actually, we use that tractor kind of with the tiller on the back of it, but then they're out there doing that, then we've used it to kind of cut the grass. So we're trying to, make it nice. And we buy a lot of, our plants in the springtime, we'll buy them already kind of started. Some of them we'll start from seed ourselves, so, we're doing lots of different things. And we also have. Doesn't cost him 5,000 to put in his garden, is what he's saying. Yeah.
Well, and it also,
Me
if you
either, by
remember,
the way.
$50 to buy the fertilizer.
if you remember, our long-term goal is to build this account up. I'd love to build a greenhouse one day. And I'm not asking you
Yeah.
to, right now, to fund a greenhouse. If I can save the money,
That way they can do something year round.
yeah, that way we can do stuff. So if we continue to grow this fund, it may take us a while to get there, but, I'd like to get there.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Russell, you have a drug control fund budget amendment.
Yes, ma'am. We've got an insurance recovery under that line item of $3,427, and we'd like to put that into our new vehicles line item under the same budget.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jernigan. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. You have a special purpose DEA fund budget amendment. These are your asset forfeiture funds.
Yes, ma'am. We received $17,985.37, and we'd like to put that into our 319 confidential line item, please.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandlin.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Peak.
What can it be spent on? Confidential.
Confidential.
Yeah, confidential.
They can tell you, but then
They'd have to shoot you.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
You always ask and we tell you
Yeah. You didn't have her overrun the house, did you?
So what? No, no.
Sheriff Arnold, do you have anything else?
No.
Anything else?
Thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
We have two fund budget amendments from the ambulance service. One has to do with their scholarship fund and one has to do with liability claims. And Mrs. Nolan will present those.
The first one is a request to recognize $6,000 from Stonecrest. We've got the wrong thing, it's not St. Thomas Hospital, it was Stonecrest. They received the monies for the paramedic scholarship program. And then the second one is a request to fund $25,000 additional dollars for their liability claims.
We're taking this one, all in one motion. Motion to approve both.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan. Was that Commissioner Schaefer? Thank you.
That-
Seconded by Commissioner Schaefer.
That line item assigned for public health and welfare, is that?
That's the fund balance for the ambulance fund.
Okay. Thank you. I just hadn't seen it spelled out that way, so, or noticed it spelled out that way.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Mr. Sandy? We have a school building program fund amendment. Mr. Sandy, good evening.
The detail is in front of them.
Okay, yes, you have on your iPad the recommended motion, and then I think Mr. Sandy has put something at our tables. Yes, looks like this.
Okay. The primary purpose of this amendment is to true up the line items within the budgets for existing projects. We've moved that. This is the way we tend to do it now. We start with an initial budget. We used to amend it 2, 3 times, 4 times in the course of the project, just saving time. So there is an $85,000 transfer, which we mentioned earlier, from the Stewart's Creek High School project to the Smyrna Primary School project. This $85,000 has already been shared with the city since it was transferred from the general purpose school fund balance. The funds were transferred to Stewart's Creek because we were a little concerned that we wouldn't have enough to cover some of our furniture, fixtures, equipment, especially for the CTE classes. And we also purchased some of those items from last year's, I have my year wrong, sorry, I'm in budget mode, from the 2012-13 GPS budget. For Stewart's Creek High School, the amendments between line items total $4,561,693. For the Blackman Middle School Annex, the amendments between line items total $958,295. For the Eagleville Phase 2 edition, $18,675 is being transferred to architect's fees from engineering fees, and the remaining $160,694 in that project is being left for any late items or the Phase 1 edition if we get approval to move forward with that. Our recommended motion is to transfer $85,000 from the Stewart's Creek High Building project to the Smyrna Primary School Addition project, and to amend the line item budgets in the building program for the Stewart's Creek High project, Blackman Middle Annex, and the Eagleville Phase 2 addition as presented.
Motion, please.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. Discussion?
Is that, the Eagleville phase, that's the phase that's already been approved, that's added
Right.
into that? Okay, well, the numbers are reversed, that's why.
And they've gotten reversed in several instances. The motion is the way we were originally using.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bone?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Director Odom could not be with us tonight. He is at a school board meeting. And they, am I correct, you did present
We
the
did.
2-year building plan to Health and Ed? But Mr. Sandvik thought it would be better if we would wait until Director Odom could be with us and present that at a future meeting.
Yeah. And I'm sure we should be able to do that in January. We just haven't
Okay,
confirmed his calendar yet.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have a debt service fund budget amendment. Mrs. Nolan?
When we adopted the budget, the intent at the time we were budgeting was to take out this capital outlay note that comes due in January with a bond issue. Since we put that bond issue further into the spring, you remember last month we had the approval to go ahead and take out the existing capital outlay note with another one. So this amendment recognizes those changes. And what we've done, it doesn't add any more money or take away any more money from the fund balance. But just, again, it's a technical correction. It
Yeah.
increases, it decreases the account of bond proceeds, it increases note proceeds because of what we did. And then the debt issuance costs, we have to break those out into education and general. when we do this. And then the last one is showing that we're paying the principal on that note instead of it being a refunded account.
But you're still gonna,
I'll go ahead.
you're still gonna refund, I mean, you're still gonna do that at the bond issue
Right.
later in the spring.
Right.
That-
It'll look different.
This was just short enough term to be whenever that bond is issued.
Mhm. We'll talk again about this later at the very end. I think we've got the CT form, giving you the results of our competitive bid, and that new note was at 0.59%.
But this is gonna be written January the 3rd. That's why-
We've already done it. It all occurred
Okay.
today. We've already paid it off.
That's 0.59, not 5.9, 0.59.
0.59.
Pretty attractive rate to borrow money.
Mhm.
I could use some of that back in the 80s, for sure.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Jordan, seconded by Commissioner P. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Okay, gentlemen, our next request is for installation of digital national warning system. Mr. Cass,
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
good evening, and I think we have some information here at our desk also.
Yes, there's a slide pack I put in that makes it a little more clear. Don't worry, I'm not going to go through every slide, but there's some information that goes into greater detail. If you like technical details, those are in there as well in each one of these packages. A little history before we get going. In the 1950s, the national warning system, not digital, national warning system was established primarily to guard against accidental nuclear launch or a nuclear attack. It was basically a 2,200 node party line, ran at the national level. Today, you still have the warning system. It's in the FEMA Operations Center as well as the alternate FEMA Operations Center. They have nodes in every EOC, for every state EOC, as well as primarily in a lot of the counties. It's an old system, and I've given you some slides on this. It's not very reliable. It's not very well done at all. It still has the same mission for guard against nuclear attack, but it also serves other functions as far as warnings and information on natural disasters as well as technical disasters. So they've decided, FEMA, to upgrade the system, and the state of Tennessee, TEMA, would like to have one node in each county at the county level. Of course, there's a cost incurred with this. Now, there is a node in this county, and it has always been at Murfreesboro Police Department, probably because at the time that's where the infrastructure could support it. But they prefer it being at a county level. The old system, like I said, is very unreliable, and it didn't incur costs. Of course, you're getting what you paid for. The newer systems comes in 4 different levels, and I've given you a package to show you this. Basically, the biggest changes, like I said, is going to be increased reliability and enhanced capabilities, as well as some backup or redundancy through satellite if we choose to go that level. The very basic level for this will run $606 a year, and that's going to be your basically a phone. It's a really nice phone. It's a really high-speed phone. It's voice over internet protocol, but it is simply a phone with no redundancy provided by satellite.
That's my question was, is that a satellite phone?
It's not, but it has backup satellite. If the internet's down, if the wired internet is down, it does have the ability to do backup through satellite, and a dish will come with it. That's what the redundancy is. Now, if you just buy the phone by itself,
What's the range on that area that it'll cover? County-wide, Middle Tennessee-wide?
it's pulling in the information simply to that node from the satellite. It's not going to other locations at that point.
I'm saying,
You
if
can-
you're out in the field, are you gonna get this message is what I'm...
It goes to
I'm
one
asking.
node. There are some other packages that they'll tell us about later where we can satellite it to like the mobile command center and other locations.
Okay,
But
I
the
think basic comes into one node.
Somebody's got to be sitting there and answer that phone.
Yes, and that's probably, I've already talked to the Sheriff's Department, that would be at the dispatch center. And that's probably why it's at the Murfreesboro PD now, the old system, excuse me.
Because
So-
somebody's there all the time.
Yes, so level 1, you get the phone, no redundancy, all right? Level 2, you get the, you do get the phone, and you also get, excuse me, get on the right page here. You get voice and data communications, still no redundancy, and that runs you at $853 a year. Tier 3 is,
Does that include the phone,
yes, sir, all this includes the equipment, and,
the first option? When you're
Yes.
giving us a new price,
yes,
the 606 for option 1. This is option 2, is option 1 and 2 for 800. Is that correct?
yes. And what you get in Tier 3 and Tier 4 is you get the redundancy. Tier 3 is the voice only with redundancy via the satellite. Tier 4 is voice and data with the redundancy. TEMA is standing behind this. What they have offered is in one node per county, which will be ours, they're going to pay for the installation, the training, and the first year of service. We would pick up the cost on the second year.
Whichever tier we want. then.
Yes, sir. And since it's a yearly cost of $2,359.70, and we are a growing county, and we also have the need for the data, I would suggest that we go with the Tier 4. Because if we decide later, then we're going to pay for all the extra stuff. At this point, we can get all the installation free and the equipment.
The problem I had with this at public safety was, are there packages like this out in the field today anywhere in the United States that you know of? If so, where?
Not
And
that-
how is it working in, when we have an actual emergency? When we have an emergency here, say we get hit by tornadoes, bad weather, multiple fires, our internet service or our phone service is basically bogged down. And that and our radio towers too. And I'm wondering how this is gonna be affected. And that's when we're gonna need it, is when we're having an emergency.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. That's why I suggested if we get this, we buy the ones with the satellite redundancy, either Tier 3 or Tier 4. Because at that point, if you don't have internet, you at least have the satellite to communicate with. And then you can also ask for the help from, of course, the state at TEMA, as well as getting the reports from FEMA, if
So-
it's a large-scale event.
so where in the United States is this in place right now? And how is it working there?
Well, Tennessee, of course, is getting feedback from every single county, and that's why they don't have the purchase order. They're gonna do it all in one. I don't know what other states, I believe all states are going through the same process with FEMA.
$2,300. So tier 4 is 2,300, you said?
$2,359.70 beginning the second year after it was installed.
They may have that on there somewhere, I guess.
Yes,
On
sir.
the internet.
So
Ah.
now,
It's on the iPad.
Is there a contract that we're locked in on this, or can we bail from it if it doesn't live up to expectations?
As I understand it, sir, we can bail.
That's even with FEMA paying for the data, for the equipment and installation?
Yes,
We
sir.
wouldn't have to repay that?
As I understand it, I can get a better readout on it before you can get back to you, but as I understand it, yes.
Personally, I'm skeptical. You can tell that from what I'm
Yes, sir, I
asking you,
understand. I
so,
understand your skepticism.
I'd just like to see a place where it's in place and, and used before I go spending the money, so.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, these are not monthly costs, these are yearly costs.
That's that page, yes.
Gentlemen, we do have a motion from the Public Safety Committee. Commissioner Jeff Phillips moved, seconded by Commissioner Schaefer, to recommend Tier 4 to TEMA for the Digital National Warning System equipment for Rutherford County, and forward that to our committee. The motion passed by roll call vote with Commissioners Jeff Phillips, Tiffany Phillips, Commissioner Schaefer, Stevens, and Farley voting yes, and Commissioner P., as he alluded a few minutes ago, voting no.
I noticed Tier 4 is the only one that has data.
No, sir.
Is that, at least I'm looking at 3 and 4
Tier
here.
2 also has data.
Tier 2.
The big difference between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is the redundancy. And
Isn't the data huge? I mean, you need a hard copy of
Well-
what's going, am I interpreting that right? That
Yes, sir. Data to me is very important because we all live off, you're doing it right
If
now.
nobody's there to comprehend what's being said in an emergency type situation, they've got the data to back
Yes,
it up.
and on top of that, if you want something, you gotta pick up the phone and call someone. And it's a really nice phone, it's really easy to get hold of folks with it, as I understand it, because you don't even have to know the number. You just have a visual screen and punch,
Yeah,
I want to talk to the team at
emergency going on, You
ELC.
might not be getting a whole many
Yes.
people.
But the data is where they'll post things such as sit reps, and you can gather the information without having to engage someone. So yeah, data's gonna be more important, and like I said, that's the way most of us are wired anyway. That's what we do. We don't typically pick up a phone, we go try to find the data.
It's gonna be housed out at the sheriff's department?
Yes, sir. It needs to be somewhere where it can be manned 7/24, and at the dispatch center is the best place for it.
Make a motion approved.
I agree.
Commissioner Jernigan has made a motion,
Second motion.
seconded by Commissioner Sandlin. Discussion?
So, from what's being said, we're gonna get to be the first one to buy the Edsel, if it's bad, right?
No, sir. No, sir. There'll be one PO for the entire state, depending on which counties, what package they want, and then they'll purchase all at once. So, and they're trying to get all the answers in December, so they submit the PO, and then they'll put in a installation plan.
Well, if this passes here tonight, will you be able to get information if there is any other states that have approved it?
I will go back out, that's a great question. I'll go back and find out where it is. It won't be inside the state. I know there's none inside the state, but external, I'll look.
Yeah, and length of time that they got it, can't be that long ago, though.
Got it, sir.
Another option,
Okay.
communication or something like that.
Has this been run past the 911 committee?
I went to Steve Smith as soon as I got it and asked if it was something that they could fund. And although he supports it, he said it was not something that they could pay for.
But you're saying he supports it?
Yes, he does.
Just not monetarily?
Yes, sir.
Verbally?
Yes, sir. Sort of like the way my son supports some of my ideas. He's not gonna pay for it.
Gentlemen, any further discussion relative to the motion?
Are there any places you can tell me of, other states that already have this in place?
No, sir, I do not. I'll go back and search. I don't think we're gonna find any that has it at this point, because they're trying to do a nationwide installation. Because you literally have to start removing because when this comes up, the old circuits go away. And the impression I was given, they're trying to do it pretty much at the same time. And the old circuits really aren't that reliable now for what they need it for.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Fee?
No.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Farley. Mr. Farley is here to request to apply for assistance to firefighters grant for a pumper. And he did advise the Public Safety Committee that this grant was available. And to acquire this pumper would be $385,000 with a 10% match from the county. But this did pass unanimously by
Public Safety.
the Public Safety Committee,
Yeah,
correct?
yes, ma'am. One of the things that I showed Public Safety is this right here is our maintenance cost for the year. If you'll notice, engine 102, we've spent $17,446 on that engine to date. I've spent $8,600 on engine 201 and $93 on engine 202, trying to keep these pumpers going, trying to keep them operational and keep them on the road. Actually, we have done a bit more on the grant, and instead of $385, we're looking at $315. We decided not to go with air packs, but this will be for the engine and the loose equipment goes on as far as the hand tools, exhaust fan, and just the regular operational tools goes on the engine.
Are you looking at bidding that the way we have in the past, where the equipment can be bid separate from the pumper itself, or is it all inclusive package?
Well, we can bid it separately. I'm just trying to give y'all a round
Rough
figure
idea.
on what it both running.
I didn't think of that the other time, but that worked really good for us last time we had bid those. And one other question, I didn't think of this in our committee meeting. That 101, E102, that's got the high maintenance on there, is that the old,
Engine 102 is the old Rutherford Fire Department engine.
that's what I.
1101.
The old manual transmission?
No, the 102 is automatic. The 101 is the manual transmission.
Okay,
Any one of them that's got 101, 201, 301, or 401 are the manual transmissions, and they're single cab.
okay. I just wanted to get in my head which truck we were talking about. Right.
Your request is to apply for assistance to firefighters grant for a pumper.
Yes, sir. All I'm asking for is permission to apply for the grant.
I'll make a motion to apply.
I'll second that.
I wanna see
the
when,
matching of it.
yeah, I wanna see
There is a
what the
matching
matching is. There's
10%.
nothing- We don't have anything on
It's
this.
10%.
10%.
Okay,
So
Commissioner
10% of
Sandlin.
315.
Give a second.
I'll say.
Second.
I can second it too.
Okay, Commissioner Peak.
Where
Mr. Farley,
would you
did-
decide where to put it?
Huh?
If it's gonna go to one of the
It's
volunteers?
gonna replace that one I've been spending 17,000 on. I've already bought Amble a rescue truck. Kitchell's fixing to take delivery of a rescue truck next week hopefully, and I'm trying to replace engines.
Well, you got a long ways to go. Might as well start somewhere, but
Well,
I would say-
I'm trying to help the budget out all I can.
I would say they're all gonna be saying, hey, where's my truck? As soon as you get one, but I blame them, but so what you.
Well, really, when you look at it, we don't really need, and I'll probably shoot me with this, there's, the county department and 7 volunteer departments. We don't really need, 11 new trucks. What we only really need is like 4 or 5 trucks starting out. The reason I say that is you have departments that have high call volume, and you have some that have 20, 30 calls a year. So those smaller departments and lower end run numbers, that wouldn't justify. In other words, they don't have enough call volume to actually wear the truck out. So and then you take the county department. Our area is so big that we'll run half the calls of what the other 7 run. In other words, if it's 2,500, we'll run half those 2,500 compared to the other departments.
So our portion is gonna be about $30,000 then.
Mhm.
That's what we're talking about. What happened to the issue with the water trucks themselves of, the trucks and the frames and all that, what we was gonna do and getting those pumpers? We was talking about tankers.
Tankers.
Yeah.
We actually built one.
Okay.
Well, I've got it. We got it in service. Got it painted, and I'm going to have it lettered, and it's in service now. It's 2,500 gallons, but it was actually just enough money to do one. We didn't do 2.
Mr. Farley, we do have a motion and a second, and the motion from Public Safety was in the amount of $385,000. Did I understand you correctly a
Yes,
while
ma'am.
ago?
385,000, but we've worked on the grant and got a better spec on the truck, and we're looking at 315.
Okay.
Why don't we just leave it though, allow them to make an application when they get into this, that not to exceed 350,000 or something, in case they revisit this again.
Okay. Is that okay with the person who made the motion and the second, Commissioner Sandlin, Commissioner Peak? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
What do you think's our chances of getting the grant?
Well, back when the Assistance to the Firefighters Grant first came out, there were a lot of trucks awarded. It's getting a lot harder now, and that's why we've crunched the numbers, because the lower amount we ask for, the better shot we've got to get the truck. They're not handling as many trucks as they have in the past, but I feel like we've written a really good grant. So all we can do is pray for the best and hope for the best.
Thank you, Mr. Farley. We're at item number 13 on our agenda, extension of the USDA lease at Lane Agri Park. Mayor Burgess.
Okay, we've had that lease in place now for 10 years through November 30th of this year. And we just got a notice from them a few days before November 30th about this. So it's gonna take a bit of time to actually get the complete lease renewed. So they've asked us initially here just to give them what's called a holdover lease for one more year. It could be less than that as we get the other lease actually prepared. We're ready to bring that forward to you. Probably we'll start that next month. So this just would allow us to go ahead and continue to rent this at the same amount of money that we currently are charging them, $10,850 a month, I believe. So that's what we're asking for you to do now.
Motion approved.
Second.
Say again.
Commissioner Jordan, seconded by
Everybody down
Pick
on
it,
that.
pick it.
Commissioner Schaefer, was that, okay.
Mayor, are they looking to go somewhere else, or they just?
Not at all.
Okay.
They're gonna stay with us.
Good.
We just have to jump through about this many pages of
I understand.
USDA federal
Federal
form.
That's what I was going to say.
I was
This is
just
federal
asking to see if
government.
they were happy, we're happy, you know, so, all right.
They want to stay with us.
Some of that may have to do with the farm bill that hadn't gotten
Right,
passed,
right.
and that's where their budget comes from, and a lot of issues there.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. The next item on our agenda is approval of funding for planning, design, and construction of the judicial building and parking. And we have a motion from Property Management. Commissioner Coggan moved, seconded by Commissioner Cook, to authorize allocating up to $5 million in a future bond issue to borrow for the planning, design, and construction of the new judicial building and parking facility. And this motion passed unanimously by roll call vote. Mrs. Nolan and Mayor Burgess, what do you want to add?
Well, we'd had this discussion with property management even previous to the last meeting, and we had given them another month at least to continue to review this and think about this before they made their final recommendation. And Ms. Nolan appeared at the last meeting with us, and we discussed some of the funding capacities, et cetera. So we don't have any really new information except the information that's been provided previously to starting with public safety. We brought them up to date, and then through the public property management now twice. So it takes a little less than $4 million based on a $65 million project to do this design work. And secondly, with the discussion that we've had about where the parking garage should be located, this would give us enough flexibility to potentially, if we could find a suitable site, to maybe acquire the site. We really don't think it's a wise decision to put the parking garage right where our current parking is for our county clerk's building. We think that's going to limit future growth even of that building, et cetera. So we want a little bit of time to think about that before we actually decide where the parking garage is going to be located. So we have added enough money in here to potentially buy another site if that were to be practical and feasible and you approve that. So that's why we are at $5 million. That's where that number came from.
Rejected.
I got a couple questions about that. I mean, this is something we've talked about for a number of years, and we spent a lot of time in the acquisition of the building over there, and lawsuits and everything else that's happened, and you know, it's been a whirlwind over there, and either we're going to do something that keeps getting pushed back because we've got, well, with a growing county the way we are, we've got a lot of things going on that we have to do, and but what are we looking at, Mayor? I don't want to do this, and we don't have that other site even thought about, looked at, or potentially, if it's the old health building that we're thinking about tearing down and then add. And I don't know. I'm just asking. If this is going to put this project off another year or 2 years, we're spending our money for nothing right here.
Well, it's not. We can still build the parking garage at the county clerk's building. We don't have to make that decision today because.
But I think it's all kind of intertwined with it. So.
We have a property to put the judicial building already purchased.
Right.
We own that. We have property at the clerk's building. It's large enough to fit the parking garage there. We just think it would be, give us a little bit of time to really decide if there's another option that's just as good. We'll have to buy some property. But we're not gonna need the parking garage. We don't have to start that. It's gonna take us as much as 18 to 21 months to design this building and get it ready to even put it out for bid. So we don't have to start construction. Probably, it may be 2 years before we actually get this thing under construction. So in that 2-year period, we can decide easily if we want to go ahead and use the property at the clerk's building and put it there, or do we find another spot that would really be better long-term?
I see.
So that's all we're saying. So we've got plenty of time to make that decision, but if we go ahead and put the $5 million and we don't use $1 million or whatever it is for other property, it's still there to be used for the building construction itself.
Right,
Well,
which
we
was-
could not build one at all and let them walk from the old building over here.
Well, that's another potential. I don't, no, we can't do that because according to building codes, we'll have to have a certain number of parking spaces to match
Sure.
up with the amount of square footage we're putting in the new building. That'll be a requirement. We'll
But
have
it
to-
takes a shorter period to build a parking
Yeah.
structure
Oh,
than
yeah,
it does
yeah,
to build a
yeah.
judicial building. So you might start your
Yeah.
judicial building 6 months or a year ahead of the parking structure, and they both turn
They
out
still
finished
turn
at
out
the same time.
Yeah.
So we got plenty of time to actually start that parking garage.
Well, I agree with the parking garage over at the clerk's office. I don't see that working.
But I mean, that's
Good,
That's
you
the
know?
plan that was made 10 years ago. and
Right.
We still can go with it, but we'd like some thoughtful time to see if we could find a little better approach.
Can you design the garage though, and then build that garage anywhere?
Oh,
No
yes.
matter-
Well, we could, but I don't think we want to do that. It might be a little bit of difference in the site size or something,
That's right.
and it's not that difficult. It doesn't take nearly as long. It doesn't take 21 months to design a parking garage. We're 3 to 6 months, and that would be designed and under construction. So we've got plenty of flexibility and time-wise.
Now, we own the whole block now, right? That,
Yes,
does
sir.
the store go with it, the store?
Yes, we own all of that.
And all of it, okay. And then the old health building, of course, that's ours, I know, but, so you're saying there's not enough room to incorporate the parking garage and the judicial building on the same piece, Hmm.
What is the cost done? I know I've heard the numbers, but right now, we're at how many million, and where were we 3 or 4 years ago?
Well, we're about,
72 million.
we're 72 million.
Oh.
We're 65 million with contingency, with all of the other things that go with it, plus 2 years of inflation. We're at 65 million on the judicial building. We're at $7 million with the same thing, contingency and inflation for the parking garage. So we're at 72 million. We were at 60-something million before 3 years ago, but it wasn't, we're probably at $10 million more than we were then.
It's not getting cheaper is what he's saying.
If you didn't have the old building on there, could you have room for a parking garage?
If we didn't have, which one, the
Health
the
department.
health department, it would be tight. It would, the footprint of these both buildings would take the whole structure. And we don't want that parking garage really joined to the judicial building for security purposes.
So the old judicial building, assuming this new one gets built, what are our immediate plans for that?
Immediate plans, I can't tell you, but I can tell you, but I think things that we've talked about is moving things like planning and building and codes, et cetera. That building over there is not a long-term solution to those needs. But we're not definitive enough to tell you precisely. I mean, that's gonna take a lot of discussion.
Well, the main one I'm thinking of is not necessarily that, but the building on the corner that
Oh,
we've had so much trouble with.
The building, the old
Coin
bank building and the
Yeah.
old coin building, our plans are to take them, I mean, right now, nobody's approved this. Property management had said this is for sure. But my strong suggestion is they come down and nothing is put back there.
Not enough room there for a parking structure, is
No.
Well, that's
Stack 'em up one on
that's
top of
where I
the
was
other.
going with this, so.
Those two old buildings, that land will be worth more than it's worth.
We continue to, we took one of our commissioners over there, Tiffany Phillips, yesterday, I guess it was. she hadn't really taken a tour, but she said even before we went, she said, I was convinced that the numbers with all our population projections and everything and caseload projections, you know, I was for it. But she said, after I've seen this, I'm really, really for the need of us going ahead and doing this.
Well, one thing I want to say publicly here, anybody that questions our decision on building a new judicial building needs to go over there on a court day, try to walk that hall from one end to the other, and then come back and talk to me. I mean, if you got objections for it, I want to hear them after you've walked that hallway. And these people that have walked it, they know why we're talking about this. So.
We've had trouble with the fire marshal in the city of Murfreesboro before, and the fact is that we're gonna be doubled our population in 32 years from what we are now.
Well, it's not just the crowds of people that are there. You've got defendants and you've got, you know, people that are actively being prosecuted in that same hallway and family members rubbing shoulders. And that could be a bad scene.
In the past, I've said I could support building schools over jails and courtrooms, and I do tend to think we ought to build schools ahead of those, but we don't have any choice. I mean, it's cost us probably $10 million not doing this 5 years ago in extra cost. I've been over there a couple of times in the last year, and it's just an accident waiting to happen. It's just a sea of people wedging those halls. I don't think we've got any choice. We're a growing county, we've got to take care of our infrastructure.
Pretty soon, if we don't, we're gonna be facing lawsuits about it for that reason, in there with inmates, et cetera, going to trial and things.
And what about the demolition cost and all that, and that's
probably
all incorporated into this?
Yeah.
65 million as far as that, so we're not looking at any surprises there then, hopefully.
I hope that that number is the upside number, because we've got a substantial amount of contingency built into that.
Well, you've got, well, I saw it there. There's some things.
Well, for tenants over there too that's still leasing, I mean, for them who hears this or reads the front page or whatever, I mean, no need for them to get excited for about a couple of years anyway, so.
But we have to give them 6 months' notice.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, if they're thinking we're getting ready to knock the building down tomorrow, that's not gonna
tomorrow,
happen, so.
But
Right.
sometime in the next 12 months, it might come down.
Well, nobody stepped out and make this motion. I'm gonna make a motion that we go ahead and proceed with this, forward it to the full commission with a positive recommendation for, you want the money in that?
Yes, sir.
Well, we're gonna say 72 million, is
No,
that?
No, just the 5
Just-
million.
Oh,
just
okay,
approve
just for the
allocating.
preliminary?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm
$5
at, why I was
million.
asking.
Just put $5 million for the design and
In design, planning, design, and construction, that leaves it to where any money left over goes to the
Goes
next
to the
piece.
So what you're saying, this bond issue for this particular one, other than the 5 million, would probably be the following year, or what are we talking?
maybe almost 2 years before we do any more. It'd be a few months before the beginning of 2016 if things work out on schedule.
Okay, let my motion reflect the 5 million for the
Okay,
planning.
we do have a motion. We need a second, gentlemen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Jordan? Yes, 5 million for planning, design, and construction. Does that cover it?
Yeah, the way we had that motion gives us enough flexibility
Okay.
to put that in the bond documents when it
Okay.
happens.
Call the roll.
Hey, you know
Excuse
what?
me.
I'm gonna add something.
Hang on just a second.
I'm gonna add something, because to be able to acquire property, we need to put that in there.
Okay.
Well, you know, the motion from property management did say construction of the judicial building and parking facility.
Planning, design, and construction, but I just wanna make sure that I've got all bases covered, that it also
Yeah,
includes
if we-
acquiring property.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner P. and Commissioner Jordan, are you okay with adding, making sure that's
And
part of the
maybe,
motion?
maybe it's not necessary, but.
I think it's wise, though, in case we do.
I'm all right with putting that in my motion, but I do have one other statement after we get a second, if we do.
We do have a
You got
second.
one.
We have a motion and a
And he
second.
agreed
Commissioner
to
P.,
it.
yes.
I'm agreeing to this 5 million here initially, and as far as that goes, for the entire price, as you heard a minute ago. But there may be parts of this that I disagree with when we dig into it and say, hey, well, we wanna go over here and we wanna buy this lot and we wanna do this with it. You may see me say, no, I don't wanna do that. So it depends on what we come back with.
Yeah, we'll have to go all the way back through the process if we find a piece of property from a willing buyer that we think is reasonable.
Well, let me give you my out. I'm gonna be voting no on this, just strictly because the waters have been muddied just a little bit here on this parking garage deal. We don't have that settled. I don't feel comfortable with this. I feel comfortable with us spending some dollars and getting this design done on a piece of property we have and we've been planning on. But when we're not exactly comfortable or even know where this parking garage is gonna go or that plan in hand, then it's just too loose for me. I mean, I'm in for the design and get it going, get it rolling, but that piece of the parking garage is not settled yet. And once we kind of get that into a corner, what we're going to do, we don't. If we,
I think that's kind of why we had
if we've got
this
property
way.
here that we're looking at, or that you know, I mean that I don't know what that price is going to be for property across the street, or it's got to be close. So that's the unknown. I don't have. I mean, the mayor might have that, or maybe the property management might have an idea on that. But I'm just saying there's a loose tie right there for me.
You gotta get designed, all designed for you, even know what'll work though. You kinda got a chicken and egg kind of thing going on.
Well, and I was thinking that the parking garage could work over on this piece of property with the L shape on the back side of the old health department that was torn down, and then plus the rest of the property that we have in the rest of that block. But I'm hearing that it's not gonna work.
There's not enough room to put it all on that one side. The plan that was done, the last study, whenever that was, before I got here, it said it was gonna go right over there on the site where the clerk's building is, in that parking area, in that primary large
I was
piece
told
of
when
it.
that building was built, it was designed to have a parking structure there.
It'll fit there. It will still fit there. But after we've had some more discussion with this revisit of our previous plan, we don't think that's the best long-term solution. We're gonna need that clerk's building, gonna need expansion.
That's
It's gonna
right.
have more employees,
When you
more
say,
visitors.
when you say we, you're talking property management?
Property management. It's
Okay,
property
thank you. I just
That's
want
all.
to know if that was you and the assistant or deputy
No.
mayor talking
No.
together or what, so, okay.
Well, the consultants we had
Yeah.
that did that
You can
look
come
into
up.
this have been consultants all over the country, on jails and things in courthouses that they have done over time.
And since all this has happened, the population projections have increased greatly from what we were thinking about 10 years ago and where we're gonna be. So the needs of our clerks building and those functions and those offices in there continue to escalate as well. So we just want to be sure we have explored other options. There may not be one that's feasible. We may not have any opportunity.
Well, as far as the clerk's buildings go, aren't we opening a office in Eagleville? We've got a new one in Smyrna.
That's
and
right.
We're looking at those issues, so,
We have.
you know, we might want to put one in Milton instead of back over here.
Walter Hill,
So,
Lands.
there you go.
Not reading.
That's possible.
It's too much traffic in Readable already, so.
One thing
Might wind up
that makes
Augusta
me
County
uncomfortable
Line.
about this, and I've made second the motion, I'm okay with it, but we're 9 months from an election. We spend $5 million to start down the road, and there may be 21 new commissioners come September, and they may all say, we're not building a judicial building at all. And that would be a terrible waste of taxpayer dollars if the next commission is not on board. I know we've got to do business and we can't slack off 3 years into a term and say, well, let's wait for the next commission. But that's a true possibility. I mean, we could spend $5 million or be down the pike on that $5 million. The next commission come on, they all say, no, we're not doing that. And
And I think we already did that once, and it cost us $10 million, so.
Yeah.
We got a motion there.
We do have a motion and a second.
We followed them. Heard enough.
Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandlin?
No.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes. Gentlemen, it is time for us to look at our 2014-2015 budget calendar, and you have the proposed calendar in front of you. And of course, these are just the major dates and the major deadlines. Of course, there will be other committee meetings interspersed in between these dates.
Well, I went to email this to myself off this iPad and it won't do it. So can you email me this?
You should have it. Should have received it last Wednesday.
I hadn't seen it yet, so
Oh,
I'll check.
It was right about when the,
I do have one
agenda
occasionally
came
that
out.
I can't open, so that may be what it was.
Okay, I will entertain a motion on the proposed budget calendar for fiscal year 2014-2015.
just,
Move to approve.
Commissioner Jernigan, thank you.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Sandlin.
Um,
Commissioner Schaefer.
yeah, when's the,
Next
the
page.
next page, not at the
When's
bottom,
that?
down the bottom, okay.
Is he gonna
Never
ask?
mind.
Well, you're gonna ask, okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen, that carries. The next item is
Yeah, flip the page.
something that our finance director alluded to just a little while ago when we talked about the debt service fund budget amendment that we approved. The presentation of Form CT-0253 related to the capital outlay note. Gentlemen, this is for your information only. It is a requirement of the finance office to present that to the county commission, but no vote is necessary. But you will notice Mrs. Nolan called attention to box number 7 earlier.
11.
Excuse me, number 11, yes, box 11, the interest cost. Anything else you want to add, Mrs. Nolan?
No? To me, that's the big story.
Okay, so we have completed that requirement,
We
right?
have. It's in
Okay.
there. And we'll present it to the full commission as well.
And we will present it then, okay. Is there any other business that needs to come before our committee?
Could I ask the mayor one question?
Surely.
This is related to the future possibilities associated with the judicial building. Have you given any thought to proceeding with a design, bid, build system versus hiring a construction manager / general contractor to help oversee the project and control costs?
Yes. And I'm still wrestling with it. It's an important question, but I don't know exactly what is the right approach. We'll have to work through that together with the property management committee.
That's an issue to be discussed later.
It is.
Isn't that exactly what the PBA was set up to do some years back?
They have been set up to do that, and yes, I've had some discussion with them about it, so we're gonna have to start that little journey next meeting.
Is the PBA still in existence?
That was my next question. Do we
Is the
still have a
PBA, is that
Yes,
still
we
in
do.
existence?
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do, okay.
We're short a few members.
I didn't even know
but
it
we
was
do
still
have
in
a- We do
existence.
have one.
2 plate positions, okay.
Is there any other business that needs to come before our committee, gentlemen? Thank you, gentlemen. We are adjourned.
Done.